So, ladies and gentlemen, the Montreal Canadiens' ongoing rivalry has nothing to do with the current NHL playoff series in the round of 16, but dates back to the first time these teams met in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So we're going to take a short look at the 1972-73 semifinal series between the Flyers, who were slight underdogs in the set, and the Montreal Canadiens, who were going to be eventual Stanley Cup champions with a final series win over Chicago. Now, the Flyers of that year had a very interesting team. They had a hard go of it again the first round against Minnesota, outlasting them in 6 games, and Montreal had the same thing. Montreal had played the Sabres, one of the up-and-coming teams, won their first 3 games of the series, but eventually they lost the next 2, including Game 5 at home in overtime. So Montreal was kind of extended in the semifinals. Tired would be a better word. And it showed the first game of the series was hotly contested, with the Flyers eventually winning 5-4 in the first few minutes of overtime in this Game 1 contest. Now, Game 2 also went overtime, but Montreal prevailed 4-3. Montreal had to go back to the great home rink for the Flyers. They won Game 3 2-1, one game throw for 4-1, and eventually outlasted the Flyers 5-3 in the deciding Game 5. Now, the Flyers of that season were very, very deep. Clark had won the MVP for the association. Gary Dornhofer, Barber, Rick McClish were putting up good numbers, and they had a lot of strong, aggressive players, original Broad Street Bullies, like the Watsons were on this team, Dave Schultz, Eddie Van Imp, Bob Kelly, Don Selesky, Tom Blade, and Dupo. So they weren't scared to take a penalty. Actually, in the 5 games, they took 77 minutes in penalties. But the problem was they couldn't really outscore Montreal in the series, and that eventually led to Montreal being triumphant. Montreal was making the most of their chances in the series. Now, there's not much YouTube on the set, even though there might be some NBC or CBS highlights out there someplace. Now, Frank Mahovlich led Montreal in the series with 6 points, including 2 goals. Yvon Cornway had 4 goals in the set, as part of his record 15. Guy Lapointe had a really good series with 2 goals and 3 assists for 5 points. And Henri Richard again put in these great playoff numbers with a trio of counters in 5 matches. Now, this Montreal Canadiens team wasn't the teams of the late 70s dynasty. I consider this still part of that late 1960s dynasty. But what was pretty weird, ladies and gentlemen, this was his last game for Ken Dryden. Last games for Ken Dryden for a year. He was taking time off for his legal degree. And also certain players left Montreal in the off season, especially Ray Jean Houle, to jump to the WHA. But they had enough strength on offense. Like any team that has Steve Shutt, Pete Mahovlich, Henri Richard, Cornway, Mahovlich, the other Mahovlich, Houle, Jacques Lemaire, they're going to score a lot of goals. And what really stood out, ladies and gentlemen, in this series, Montreal made the most of their power play chances, scoring 6 goals. And unfortunately, Flyers couldn't take advantage, only scored 3. So Montreal won the power play totals. Actually, Montreal scored 8 goals on the power play, ladies and gentlemen. So that's where they were devastating. That was the big difference. But what's kind of funny, though, some were developing players, some players were on their way out, and the series against Chicago was also exciting. This was a very high-scoring Montreal team, but a team that was also giving a lot of goals because they had more like an Edmonton Oilers style. As soon as Bowman took more of the reins later on, you were seeing less goals against, but more offense. Anyway, that's the story of the 72-73 Flyers Montreal series. Thanks for listening. Bye.